Hey everyone! So today I am revealing the new vine for the month of June. Now usually I do two vines, but this one there's a reason, and I'll get to it. But today there's one vine, and it is getting zucked, and this is where it is on the wall. So as you see, we're almost done with the second half of this big rectangle, which is actually two squares, which is actually chapter 1 on the left and chapter 2 on the right. So the reason I'm only completed the one this month is because I needed to even everything out. So I finished 2 every month, and there's only 2 more months to go until the end of chapter 3. Of chapter 2, going into chapter 3. And at some point in chapter 1, when I wasn't as dedicated or as chronological, when I first started, I was doing maybe 3 a month or 1, kind of sporadically. So it kind of threw off the numbers. So now I'm just going to catch up. So it allowed me to just complete 1 for this month, which is a pretty big one, and I'll show you why. So if you look at it, that's where it is. So if I turn it off, it's only grown from the one next to it, which is Obscuriosity, which is a fun one too. Definitely check that one out. But it goes perfect with this next one. So as you know, I just complete these as I go each month and let the lines create the piece as we go through each month. So as you see, that's where it is, and this is kind of a scaled down version, even though you can zoom way in. This is how I piece everything together while I'm working on it by myself or by itself. So each one I do by itself, and this is what it looks like by itself. So as you can see, it's kind of a weird one, and it's very it's not disturbing in any way. As far as you want to worry about it, but if you see, there's an upside down F that looks like the Facebook logo. Well, this is Zuck, and Zuckerberg is creating a world that we're living in, basically the digital world, and he is. I thought he was spray painting. It's almost like silly string. It's so freaking funny. So. It's like a silly string, but this blue right here it's a new color. So before I started chapter 2, I did the same thing. I added another color, so I happen to add another color here. The dark blue has always been in the mix, and if you see, very limited. I'm talking, this was years and years ago. The blue got brought in. And it's only showed up a few times, and over here, and then obviously representing the water on the earth, but it's not really representing water as well. That's the light dark and darker gray, the grayish blue, is representing the water. But this new blue is actually a little more. I didn't know what it was going to represent, but it's looking like it's representing our entry into a digital realm, and then and it's really showing that it's going to go. Something's going to happen in chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the revolution. Chapter 2 that we're finishing is the awakening. And these chapters I came up with years and years ago, which is very weird that we're in the awakening, at the end of the awakening, where we went into technological advancement and then into the pandemic that's happening here. This represents the stock market, which is unexpectedly rising, but at the same time, it's going to change more into instead of a bull or bear, more of an elephant, and has nothing to do with politics. Well, in the long run, it kind of does, but the elephant does not represent the Republican Party in any way. It's more of the intelligence, which is far from that. So anyway, that's the 2 big announcements: is the color, the new color, and the fact that we are entering. Getting Zucked is about us entering into this digital realm where we become less original, less open-minded, because we're getting zucked into these silos, and we're not going to be thinking like we used to because we're being influenced by these social media networks, which we have been. Problem is, now that they're trying to police all of that, we've got to be worried about them showing us exactly what they're allowed to see, show us, and what we want to see, and it's just gonna make things worse instead of opening it up to all the issues that are happening. Now it's going to be even catered more to what they feel that we should see, which is not a good thing, especially relying more and more on it. So just to point out, there's this, obviously the clocks represent the time and what we're running out of. But if you notice, it's still the tree. So the trees grow these thoughts and ideas, and that's what these clouds are. So it's clouding the eyes up here, which is actually some more of the beetles, and the beetles are actually coming into let me actually get in the bigger version. There we go. The beetles are actually getting into the yellow, which represents new ideas. So we'll see what that turns into. It's getting interesting there. But this guy right here is, if you see, he's flicking a bird with his tree slash cloud hand, and I believe that's directed right at old Zuck here, who's creating this future with the rest of the social media companies. We're not just blaming this on Facebook, but the thing that is showing is how, if you see, they're all tied to his thoughts. So these eyes that represent what we can see and how we see the world and reality is really getting hijacked by, and I see how everything's connected. It's being hijacked by this digital realm we're going into that's being created by the social media giants and the people that are using it, right? And so the more they try to stop and control what's going on, the more the loud ones, the ones who can find the loopholes, are going to get louder and stifle us. So we've got to be a little cautious on that. And the one last positive thing is this right here. So these dudes right here are, see if they're making this gesture with their hand, which is actually on the flag, which is this A with a circle. It does not represent anarchy. It actually represents the original avatar, which is showing that we are the original avatars. The humans are our bodies, and who we are put in this world by, we can go as secular or as religious as you want, but we are literally an avatar, allowing us to view and live in this world that we're trying to recreate in digital. We're trying to make haptic suits, and we're trying to recreate what this amazing physical world allows us to have in these biosuits, this wetware that basically is our avatar that works to self-correct and self-heal and deal with the elements around us. So our avatars, ourselves, our person is what really makes us so unique, and we're trying to recreate that in a digital world when we have it here, and we'll never be able to recreate what we really are in this new world that we're trying to create. It is an amazing extension of us, don't get me wrong, but what the problem is our need for the digital realm, our need for getting having to answer the question of the fight or flight. So, what should we be paying attention to? And the problem is we're paying attention to those loudest voices, which are destroying our creativity and our uniqueness. So that is what this one represents. I hope you all enjoy it and really dig down and check out the details. It's one of my favorites, and it is at the end, as you see, the end of chapter 3. And we've got 2 more months, and yes, from now on and before, there will be 2 that are created every month. Just this month was only the 1, so I could get back even with the monthly 2 every month. So, and they don't go side by side, so they'll be finished. There'll be 1 over up on here. There's 2 little areas right here, and there'll be 1 in here for next month, and then the final month, which is in 2 months, will be the end of chapter 2, and it's going into chapter 3, which is the Revelation. It is going to be scary. I'm looking forward to the end of it, but remember, each chapter is 3.4 years. So we got a few years of the revolution before we get into the rebuild, which is chapter 4. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and please, any questions you have, I'm happy to answer them or explain more. But just reading this, I've come to learn that this is literally our map and guiding us, as well as documenting what we've been doing, and hopefully we can use this as some good in the world, or some good to look into the future. You have got to see chapter 3 as I'm creating it. It is going to be wild. So thanks all. Take it easy.